Peace. So today I'm going to talk about interest in usury and what mankind is in the throes of as far as the situation on the earth today, and has been whenever this kind of a wretched satanic system has been put in place for long enough, which we call the banking system run by the central bankers of the governments of the earth and owned by private entities, short off. This is what it ends like. This is what it looks like when it ends, and it's ending. This system is ending, if you haven't realized. And the war of God has been on it from the beginning, because God prohibits usury. And they will say that no, usury is not the same as interest. In the words of some people who say that it is a distinction without a difference. That statement applies to this quite aptly and very clearly to what they're doing. Interest or usury are fundamentally the same thing. It doesn't matter that they tell you, oh, when it's over 25% then it's usury, or over 30%, whatever they want to call it. But they're fundamentally lying to their own selves, and God has forbidden this. The Jews know it, the Christians know it, these Muslims know it, and they will find every route around it to say there's a cost of capital, this money which doesn't exist anyways. So fundamentally the money that we have created now depends on nothing except your faith in your government, who then in turn determines the value of the money, and they continue issuing it without end in sight, which is what's going on today, if you haven't realized quite clearly. So we have paper which doesn't even exist anymore. It's on zeros and ones in on computer screens that we see these monies or these currencies being added to without any end, backed by nothing except your faith in your government. And they themselves then determine what interest must be paid on this currency to themselves most of the time. I mean, it's a joke. The system is a complete farce and totally, absolutely unlawful under the auspices of God. This is absolutely insane what is going on. And currency is being manipulated by all sorts of entities, including the government and the central governments, to enslave the people. And you have bought into it, so most of you are enslaved to it. And it will end, and it will end horribly. There's no doubt in that. God has declared his war on this interest in usury. And fundamentally they will tell you that the trade is like usury, and this is the example I will show you in the Quran as well. They say that the trade is the example of usury. God fundamentally forbids any kind of excess on any money lent as a loan or taken as a debt. It's impossible. So even if you say in your currencies, which aren't backed by anything, even if you want them to be real money, which it isn't, it's monopoly, that when loaned cannot be taken back with any kind of excess. If you loan 100, you get back 100. That is forbidden if you do the adding on top of what you loaned out. Trade is exchange of goods, fundamentally. Yeah? Trade is exchange of goods, and goods are some sort of element which is useful for people, between two peoples or two persons for that matter, and they happily exchange one item for another, a goat for a ewe, or a camel for a horse, or whatever it be. It doesn't matter. That is trade. Money fundamentally cannot be added to when taken as a loan or given as a loan to someone else. It cannot be added to. That is absolutely against the commandments of God. And God has fundamentally declared that this is going to be destroyed in the end, obviously, and a war of God and his messengers has been declared on this sort of activity which is going on. And fundamentally the money that God has created which is written in the Bible, the Torah and the Quran, is gold and silver. So fundamentally all money has to be backed 100% by gold and silver. And that's what the money is, and that can be used to exchange goods, and that has to be administered by the law of the land, by the processes in place, and it should be a public service. These banking systems, they're all absolutely unlawful and illegal and need to be trashed. I mean, they will be, but they actually need to be. They need to be destroyed. All these banking institutions are unlawful, illegal, unjustified, and have no just bearing on their existence. They have none. They cannot be there to make money. I mean, they take your money and they loan it back to you and charge you interest on it. This is fundamentally your bank here. I mean, if you haven't realized this, you can go figure it out for yourself. Ask them what they do with your money and where it's stored. Yeah. So let's look at the place in the Quran where this is absolutely clear. What they're doing is illegal, and the banking system needs to be shut down and revamped into what it needs to be, which is an exchange of money, which is gold and silver. And it cannot be added to at will. It has to be dug out of the ground. Anyway, let's look at this. So it's chapter 2, verse 275. Those they eat the usury, not they stand, except like what he stands, the one he addresses him, the Satan, from the touch. So yeah, you take usury, it's Satan touching you. That, with surety they say, surely what the trade, example of the usury. That's what they're going to tell you, and it's a lie. And allows God the trade and disallows the usury. But one comes to him instruction from his Lord, but stops, but to him what passed, and his command to God. And one who transgresses, but they companions of the fire, they in her living. So look how absolutely abhorrent it is to God. Once you know and you stop, you're okay. God will pass over whatever you've done before. But if you transgress after what comes to you, the knowledge, you're going to live in the fire. He stops God, the usury, and he grows the truths. And God, not he loves every rejecter evil. Surely those who believe and do the righteousness, and they make constant the prayer, and they bring the purity, to them their reward with their Lord, and no fear over them, and not they grieve. O you, those who believe, fear God, and leave what remains from the usury, if you be believers. But if not you do, but hear with war from God and his messengers, and if you turn, but to you heads of your wealth, don't you wrong, and not will you be wronged. And if you are with difficulty, but look towards ease, and that you be truthful, better to you, if you are, you knowing. So understand, this is to those who believe. God is telling those who believe. Forget about the rejectors. This is to those who actually believe, where there are not many of those on the earth today. And he's warning them, leave the usury, what remains of it. You'll get the head, so you'll get the capital of your monies. Yeah. And if somebody is in difficulty, then let it be to the ease. And if you be truthful, you give away all your wealth, that's better for you. If you're knowing, doesn't matter. So fundamentally, he's telling all those who believe, if you have any faith, I don't see any of those on the earth today, you need to leave the usury. To you, the heads of your wealth. You will get the capital, nothing else. Yeah, don't wrong and you will not be wrong. And if you find that the person you're have loaned to is in difficulty, but look towards the ease, and that you be truthful, better to you. So you can give away the wealth to the ones you loan to as well. That's better to you. I mean, come on. Those who loan money are usually wealthy people, yeah. But in today's world, those who loan money have nothing. They take your money and they loan it. So fundamentally, understand this concept of God, that usury/interest is forbidden. The whole system that we stand on today is forbidden. So, that's where we are. Here's another place in chapter 3. O you, those who believe, don't you eat the usury, adding, and fear God, maybe you prosper, and fear the fire, the one prepared to the rejectors, and obey God and the messengers, maybe you be mercied. And one more place in chapter 30. And what comes to you from usury, to its growing in wealth of the mankind, but not it grows with God. And what comes to you from purity, you wanting face of God, but those, they the added to. So understand what God is telling you. You need to stop this usury, you need to stop all this banking, you need to shut it down, and you need to set up a system which is based on true money exchange, and it's a public service for all mankind. You set it up in each country, it doesn't matter, but it needs to be a public service. There can be no leveraging, no freaking interest, none of this garbage is allowed. And if you don't stop, the war of God has been coming all along. Every few years the system is destroyed and they invent lies to resurrect it, to perpetuate it. But it's come to an end now. This system cannot last, and it will end soon. So with that, peace.